can we talk about how exhausting it is to get hyped for upcoming games anymore? Every year we get these jaw-dropping trailers with orchestral music and cinematic camera work, and then the game comes out and it's either half-finished, loaded with microtransactions, or just straight up not what they showed us. I'm tired of pre-ordering based on vibes and getting burned 6 months later when the reviews drop and everyone's like, yeah, it's fine, I guess. So I did something arguably stupid. I went through every major PS5 game announcement for 2026, watched every trailer, read every preview, and made a list of the ones that actually look like they might deliver. Not the ones with the best marketing, the ones where the gameplay, the vision, and the studios behind them make me think, okay, this might actually be worth the wait. These are 18 upcoming games that have me cautiously optimistic, and yes, I know half of them will probably get delayed to 2027, but let's pretend we live in a world where release dates mean something. This is my brutally honest breakdown of the games coming in 2026 that look genuinely insane. Some are safe bets, some are wild swings, and some might completely flop, but right now, based on what we know, these are the ones worth keeping on your radar. The Godslayer is a new IP from a relatively unknown studio, and it's giving off serious God of War meets Shadow the Colossus vibes. The trailer showed a lone warrior climbing massive gods and taking them down in epic set-piece battles. The art direction is stunning, ancient mythological worlds, towering deities, and combat that looks brutal and strategic. The gameplay teaser showed a boss fight against a stone colossus where you're climbing its body, attacking weak points, and dodging devastating attacks. Another clip showed exploration through ruins with environmental puzzles and platforming. The combat looked weighty. Every hit matters, every dodge is crucial, and one mistake means death. It's giving off major indie AA energy, and if the studio can stick the landing, this could be 2026's biggest surprise. I'm keeping an eye on this one.
Remedy is making Control 2, and after the cult success of the first game, expectations are sky high. The teaser showed Jesse Faden returning, the oldest house expanding into new dimensions, and reality-bending powers that look even more insane. Remedy's strength is atmosphere and environmental storytelling, and Control 2 looks like it's doubling down on the surreal, shifting architecture and paranormal threats. The gameplay preview showed new abilities. Jesse can now manipulate time, create portals, and phase through walls. One sequence had her navigating a room that was constantly reshaping itself, solving puzzles while fighting Hiss enemies. Another showed a boss fight against the reality-warping entity in a space that defied physics. The combat looks faster, the environment's more dynamic, and the weirdness cranked up to 11. If Remedy can expand on the original strengths, tight combat, deep lore, and a world that feels alive, Control 2 could be one of the best games of 2026. The concern is whether they can tell a story that's accessible to newcomers while satisfying fans. But Remedy rarely misses, and I'm betting this is gonna be special.
Kojima Productions is making Directive 8020, and if you know Kojima, you know it's gonna be weird, ambitious, and divisive. The teaser showed astronauts on a mysterious planet, strange alien structures, and a horror atmosphere that felt more alien than Death Stranding. There's very little concrete info, but knowing Kojima, expect unconventional gameplay, celebrity voice acting, and a story that's equal parts confusing and brilliant. The most recent trailer hinted at survival mechanics, exploration, and something stalking you in the dark. One clip showed a crew member's helmet cam glitching out as something massive moved in the shadows. Another showed base building on an alien moon with resources running low. It looks like Kojima is leaning into sci-fi horror, and if he can balance the weirdness with actual scares, Directive 8020 could be unforgettable. The risk is it'll be too Kojima for its own good, overly cinematic, slow pace, and confusing to the point of frustration. But if you love Death Stranding's vibe and want something even stranger, this is worth watching. It's either going to be a masterpiece or a beautiful disaster. No in between. Netmarble is making a 7 Deadly Sins action RPG, and for fans of the anime, this looks like it could finally be the game the series deserves. Origin is set before the events of the anime, showing how the sins first came together. The trailer showed fast-paced combat with flashy special attacks, boss fights against Holy Knights, and fan-favorite characters in their prime. The gameplay teaser showed a party-based system where you control different sins, swapping between them mid-combat to chain abilities. Meliodas has his counter-based full counter, Ban has rapid-fire combos, and Escanor has time-based power scaling that makes him stronger as noon approaches.
One fight showed the team battling a giant demon in a collapsing fortress, and the spectacle was anime as hell. Over-the-top attacks, destructible environments, and special moves that filled the screen. The concern is whether it'll feel too much like a mobile game ported to console. Netmarble's track record is mixed, and anime tie-in games often prioritize fan service over depth. But if the combat is satisfying and the story does justice to the source material, Seven Deadly Sins fans will eat this up. It's not going to win over non-fans, but for the target audience, it looks solid.
LEGO games are comfort food, and LEGO Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight looks like it's honoring the entire Batman mythos in one massive game. The trailer showed iconic storylines from across Batman's history: the Court of Owls, Nightfall, No Man's Land, all reimagined in LEGO form. The humor is intact, the co-op looks smooth, and the character roster is massive. We're talking dozens of Bat Family members, villains, and alternate universe Batmans. The gameplay preview showed open-world Gotham with different eras you can explore, each with unique missions and aesthetics. One section had you as Batman Beyond in a futuristic Gotham fighting animatronic Jokers. Another showed classic Adam West Batman in the 1960s, complete with campy dialogue and ridiculous gadgets. The vehicle sections looked improved. Batmobile chases, Batwing aerial combat, and even Batboat sequences. It's a LEGO game, so you know what you're getting. Family-friendly humor, satisfying brick smashing, and collectibles for days. But if you love Batman and want a celebration of everything that makes the character iconic, Legacy of the Dark Knight looks like it's delivering exactly that. Sometimes you just want to relax and smash LEGO bricks, and this looks perfect for that. Capcom's Pragmata is a mystery wrapped in a sci-fi enigma, and honestly, I have no idea what this game is. The trailers have shown an astronaut, a young girl with powers, a dystopian Earth, and the moon. It looks like a blend of exploration, puzzle solving, and emotional storytelling, but Capcom has been weirdly secretive about gameplay details. What we do know is it looks stunning: ray tracing, particle effects, and environmental design that feels next-gen. The most recent trailer showed the protagonist and the girl navigating abandoned cities on Earth, solving environmental puzzles using her telekinetic abilities. Another clip showed low-gravity combat on the moon against robotic enemies. It's giving off Death Stranding vibes: slow, contemplative, focused on atmosphere over action. If that's the vibe Capcom is going for, I'm here for it. The risk is it could be too weird, too slow, or too niche for mainstream audiences. But Capcom's been on fire lately, and if Pragmata is their experimental auteur project, I'm willing to give it a shot. It's either going to be brilliant or completely baffling. Either way, I'm curious. Rebel Wolves is a staple, and the Blood of Dawnwalker looks like dark fantasy vampire RPG goodness. You play as a newly turned vampire navigating a world where humans and vampires are at war, and every choice you make affects your humanity. The trailer showed Gothic European cities, blood rituals, and moral dilemmas that actually seem meaningful. The gameplay teaser showed a branching narrative where your choices shape the story in real ways. One path had you feeding on humans to gain power, losing humanity in the process. Another showed you resisting the bloodlust and allying with human factions. The combat looked melee-focused with supernatural vampire abilities, super speed, blood magic, and transformations. One boss fight had you battling an ancient vampire lord in a cathedral, and it was equal parts brutal and cinematic. If Rebel Wolves can deliver on the narrative depth and make the vampire fantasy feel genuinely compelling, Dawnwalker could be incredible. The risk is whether they can match the storytelling quality of The Witcher 3. That's a high bar, but the pedigree is there. I'm very interested in this one. Pearl Abyss is making Crimson Desert, and after years of Black Desert Online, they're finally doing a single-player action RPG. The trailer showed a massive open world with medieval fantasy warfare, massive sieges, and a story about a mercenary leader caught in a war between kingdoms. The combat looked like a mix of Kingdom Come and The Witcher, grounded, tactical, and brutal. The gameplay demo showed horseback combat, siege warfare with hundreds of NPCs on screen, and duels that required timing and strategy. One sequence had you leading a charge against a fortified castle, using siege weapons and coordinating with your squad. Another showed a one-on-one duel in the rain, and the weight of every sword swing was palpable.
The world looked dense and alive, with dynamic weather, wildlife, and NPCs going about their lives. The concern is scope. Pluribus is ambitious, and open-world RPGs are hard to get right. If the pacing drags or the story doesn't land, it could feel like a beautiful but empty world. But if they deliver on the promise of a living, reactive, medieval fantasy, Crimson Desert could be one of 2026's biggest surprises. Capcom is reviving Onimusha, and as someone who loved the original games, I'm thrilled and terrified. Way of the Sword is set during the Sengoku period and follows a new protagonist fighting demons in feudal Japan. The trailer showed sword combat that looked brutal and precise, with demons that ranged from humanoid warriors to massive yokai bosses. The art direction is gorgeous, dark, moody, and dripping with atmosphere. The gameplay teaser showed a combat system that blends parrying, dodging, and demon soul absorption. You're fighting human enemies with samurai discipline, then shifting gears to battle supernatural threats with magic and special abilities. One boss fight had you dueling a demon general on a burning battlefield, and the choreography was insane. Another showed infiltration through a demon-infested castle using stealth and environmental kills. The risk is whether Capcom can modernize Onimusha without losing what made it special. If it feels too much like a Souls clone or loses the over-the-top demon-slaying power fantasy, it could fall flat. But if they balance challenge with spectacle, Way of the Sword could be Capcom's next big hit. I'm rooting for this one.
Dune Awakening is an MMO survival game set on Arrakis. And yes, that sounds like a recipe for disaster, but hear me out. The developer, Funcom, has experience with survival MMOs, and the scope here is ambitious. You're building bases in the desert, harvesting spice, forming guilds, and fighting over territory while sandworms roam the planet as environmental hazards. The trailer showed massive desert storms, ornithopter dogfights, and a sandworm attack that swallowed an entire convoy. The gameplay loop seems to focus on resource management, player-driven politics, and large-scale PvP. One clip showed a guild defending their spice harvester from raiders while a sandworm approached in the background, forcing everyone to evacuate. Another showed base building in the deep desert, using still suits and moisture farming to survive. The attention to Dune lore is impressive. Everything from the aesthetics to the mechanics feels authentic to the universe. The concern? It's an MMO. And MMOs are a gamble. If the grind is too harsh, the PvP too unbalanced, or the endgame too shallow, it'll die fast. But if Funcom nails the atmosphere and creates emergent player stories in the world of Dune, this could be something really special. I'm cautiously hyped. Team Ninja is back with Nioh 3, and if you loved the first two games, you already know what you're getting. Punishingly difficult samurai combat with deep RPG systems and yokai boss fights that will destroy you repeatedly. The trailer showed feudal Japan again, but this time with a darker, more supernatural focus. The protagonist looked like a demon hunter wielding dual katanas, and the enemy designs were absolutely grotesque. The gameplay teaser showed the stance system returning, but expanded. You're swapping between stances mid-combo, chaining attacks with different weapons, and using yokai abilities to turn the tide. One boss fight had you battling a massive serpent yokai in a burning temple, dodging fire attacks while managing your stamina. Another showed a duel against a rival samurai in a bamboo forest, and the tension was incredible. Team Ninja knows how to make combat feel weighty and deliberate, and Nioh 3 looks like it's refining that formula even further. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be unforgiving. If you bounced off the first two games, this won't win you over. But for fans of the series, Nioh 3 looks like it's delivering exactly what we want. More yokai, more builds, more suffering. Sign me up. IO Interactive is making a James Bond game, and after the Hitman trilogy, I trust them completely. First Light is supposedly a prequel, showing Bond's first mission as a 007 agent, and the trailer had everything you'd want: exotic locations, stealth infiltration, car chases, and a villain who looks genuinely menacing. IO's strength is creating sandbox levels with multiple approaches, and applying that to Bond is a perfect fit. The gameplay demo showed a mission in Monaco, where you infiltrate a casino, gather intel, seduce an informant, and escape in an Aston Martin while being chased through the streets. The level design looked dense, multiple paths, disguises, social stealth, and the option to go loud if things go wrong. Another clip showed Bond in a snowy mountain fortress, using gadgets to hack security systems and taking out guards silently. It felt like Hitman with a 007 coat of paint, and that's exactly what it should be. The risk is whether IO can nail the cinematic Bond moments, the one-liners, the action set pieces, the larger-than-life villain confrontations. But if they deliver on the sandbox stealth and give us a Bond story worth caring about, this could be the definitive 007 game. I'm all in. Marvel's doing a fighting game, and it's not another arena brawler. It's a legit 2D fighter being developed by a team that knows the genre. Tokon Fighting Souls is supposedly inspired by Marvel vs. Capcom, but with modern mechanics, rollback netcode, and a roster that spans the entire Marvel universe. The trailer showed Doctor Strange vs. Venom, Storm vs. Green Goblin, and Moon Knight vs. Carnage, and the animations look smooth and brutal. The gameplay preview showed a combo system that's approachable but deep, with tag mechanics that let you swap between two fighters mid-combo. One match had Wolverine and Deadpool working together, and the banter was actually funny. Another showed Magneto controlling the entire stage, throwing metal debris while his opponent tried to close the distance. The stages are interactive. One fight in the Daily Bugle had the building collapsing as you fought, and another in Asgard had lightning strikes that affected gameplay. Fighting games are niche, and Marvel games have a mixed track record. But if the netcode is solid and the roster is balanced, this could have serious competitive legs. The casual audience might bounce, but for fighting game fans, this looks like it could be the Marvel fighter we've been waiting for.
Saros is one of those wild indie projects that looks way too ambitious to actually work. But if it does, it could be something special. It's being described as a sci-fi survival RPG where you're stranded on a dying alien planet and have to adapt to an ecosystem that's actively trying to kill you. The trailer showed bioluminescent forests, hostile alien creatures in a day-night cycle where the planet's atmosphere changes and new threats emerge. The gameplay loop seems to focus on crafting, exploration, and making tough survival choices. One clip showed the player hunting a massive alien beast, using traps and environmental hazards to take it down. Another showed base building in the ruins of an ancient alien civilization, with storms rolling in that forced you to hunker down. The art direction is stunning. Everything looks alien and organic in a way that feels genuinely otherworldly. The risk? It's a small team, and survival games live or die by their systems. If the crafting is tedious or the exploration gets repetitive, it'll fall apart. But if they nail the atmosphere and make the planet feel like a living, breathing threat, Saros could be the next big indie hit. I'm rooting for it.
Yes, Halo is coming to PlayStation, and yes, this feels surreal. Campaign Evolved is being developed as a back-to-basics Halo experience. No live service nonsense, no battle passes, just a solo campaign focused on Master Chief dealing with a new Forerunner threat. The trailer showed massive ring structures, Covenant forces returning, and Chief wielding new weapons that look like they blend human and Forerunner tech. The gameplay demo showed what 343 is calling open-ended combat encounters. You're dropped into sandbox arenas with multiple approaches, vehicles you can commandeer, and AI teammates that actually help. One mission had Chief assaulting a Covenant cruiser in orbit, boarding it with a squad of Spartans, and the scale was ridiculous. Another showed a ground battle on a Halo ring with scarabs, warthogs, and explosions everywhere. It looked like classic Halo cranked up to 11. The concern is whether 343 can deliver after Infinite's rough launch, but this is a fresh start on new hardware with a clear vision. And if they nail the sandbox combat and epic set pieces Halo is known for, this could win back a lot of fans. It's a huge risk bringing it to PlayStation, but if the game is good, nobody's going to care about platform wars. Capcom has been on an absolute tear with the RE remakes, so the fact that they're finally moving forward with a new mainline entry has me hyped.
Requiem is supposedly set after Village, following Rose Winters as she deals with her mold powers while a new bioweapon outbreak hits Europe. The trailer showed gothic castles, fog-drenched villages, and something massive lurking in the shadows that made the Lycans look like puppies. The gameplay teaser showed her using her powers in combat, manipulating mold to create barriers, turning enemies against each other, and phasing through attacks. It's a departure from traditional RE, but it looks like Capcom is leaning into the supernatural horror angle in a way that feels fresh. One moment showed her trapped in a cathedral with stained glass shattering as this enormous creature broke through the ceiling. Another had her navigating catacombs with limited visibility and something stalking her in the dark. Capcom's recent track record gives me confidence, but the shift toward powers-based gameplay is risky. If it loses the resource management tension that defines RE, it could feel too action-heavy. But if they balance the horror with the new mechanics, Requiem could be one of the best entries in the series. Capcom rarely misses these days, so I'm cautiously optimistic. Insomniac gave us two incredible Spider-Man games, so the fact that they're tackling Wolverine has me more excited than I should be. This isn't going to be a friendly neighborhood hero story. This is Logan at his most brutal, and the teaser we got showed blood, claws, and a dive bar fight that ended with bodies on the floor. Insomniac knows how to make movement feel good, and translating that to Wolverine's berserker rage could be incredible. The leaked gameplay footage, yeah, I watched it, don't judge me, showed a combat system that's fast, visceral, and built around aggression. You're not dodging and countering like Spider-Man, you're lunging, slashing, and tearing through enemies, with a healing factor that lets you play recklessly. One section showed Logan fighting through a Weapon X facility, and the environmental storytelling was dark. Torture chambers, failed experiments, the whole nine. Another moment had him in the Canadian wilderness tracking someone through a snowstorm, and it looked atmospheric as hell. If Insomniac can nail the tone, making this feel mature, violent, and emotionally grounded, Wolverine could be the best superhero game since Arkham City. The risk is it becomes too edgy, or loses the emotional core that makes Logan interesting. But if they pull it off, this is going to be special. Let's just get this one out of the way because we all know it's the elephant in the room. GTA 6 is either going to be the biggest game of the decade or the most overhyped disappointment in gaming history. And honestly, Rockstar's track record makes me lean toward the former. The leaked footage from a few years back showed a living, breathing Vice City with NPCs that actually react to you, dynamic weather that affects gameplay, and a level of environmental detail that's borderline obsessive. The dual protagonist setup with Jason and Lucia gives off Bonnie and Clyde energy, and if Rockstar can nail the character writing the way they did with Arthur Morgan, this could be special. The heist mechanics look expanded. One trailer moment showed a bank robbery where you're coordinating with your crew in real time while cops are setting up roadblocks outside. Another showed swamp chases with alligators, neon-soaked nightclub infiltrations, and what looked like destructible environments in downtown Vice City. It's Rockstar doing what Rockstar does best, building a world so dense you could spend 200 hours in it and still find new details. The concerns? It's gonna be massive, probably bloated, and knowing Rockstar, the online mode will overshadow single player within a year. But if the story hits, if the world feels alive, if the chaos is as fun as it looks, GTA 6 is going to dominate 2026. No question. Look, half these games are probably getting delayed and a few might not live up to the hype. That's just how the industry works now. But based on what we know right now, these are the 18 games coming in 2026 that have me genuinely excited. Some are safe bets, some are wild swings, and some might completely miss. But they all look like they're trying to do something interesting. So here's the question. Which of these are you most hyped for? Did I miss something you're excited about? Are you betting GTA 6 gets delayed to 2027? Let me know in the comments. And if you're like me and already planning which games you're going to convince yourself you need at launch, I apologize in advance to your wallet. If this video helped you figure out what's worth keeping on your radar, hit that like button and subscribe. I'll keep tracking these games and updating you if anything changes. Now go watch those trailers again and try not to pre-order everything like I'm about to.